Williamson launched her presidential campaign yesterday, Saturday, March 4th. The media gave her some interviews on the heels of that announcement, which is honestly a little bit more than I thought they were going to do. But part of why some in the sort of progressive media space were excited about Marianne is because of the interview she gave to the Vanguard boys, in which she said that she would take a similar tack that Donald Trump took at the beginning of the 2016 primaries, when he was asked the question, will you fall in line and support the Republican nominee in the fall, even if it's not you? And he famously said, well, it depends on how you treat me. And a lot of people in progressive media, I shouldn't say a lot, Vanguard guys, Brianna Joy Gray, they took that to mean that she was committing to a dirty break, meaning she would not endorse the Democrat in the fall because they think it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to try to cheat her in some way. And of course, we are of the opinion that they won't, not because they wouldn't if they had to, but because they won't have to, right? So anyway, we kept saying, a lot of voices of reason kept saying, she never committed to a dirty break. This is nonsense. You're just wish casting this. You're just saying it because you want it to be true. She is not doing a dirty break. We guarantee it. Here she is on MSNBC when asked, predictably, this very question.
I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who are thinking, what's she going to do if she's not successful? Will you support the Democratic nominee? Will you support the party if you are not the nominee?
I'm going to do everything possible as a patriotic American to make sure that the neo-fascist authoritarian threat that is very real in our country and is very entrenched at this point within the Republican Party does not win the White House in 2024. That's why I'm running.
Okay, there's your answer. No dirty break. I'm going to do my patriotic duty and do everything I can to make sure that the neo-fascist authoritarian Republican Party does not win in November. That means she is going to fall in line. You do not refer to the Republican Party as a neo-fascist authoritarian party and then run as a third party spoiler candidate. You do not do that. She will not do that. Case closed. At this point, can the Vanguard guys please correct the record? Can Brianna Joy Gray please make clear to their audience so that they don't lead them down this rabbit hole for the next year? Can we everybody just cut the nonsense? Of course, there is no dirty break. There was never going to be
from Marianne Williamson.
From Marianne Williamson.
Of all people. Let me translate what you just said. I'm not going to do anything that is going to piss off my social set to such a degree that I stop getting invited to parties. I call it the Sarandon strategy. I ask myself before I do something, is this going to get me put in the Sarandon category in the minds of my wealthy friends? And if the answer is yes, I'm not going to do it. So that should answer your question, Jonathan.
Yes. And about this whole neo-fascist authoritarian Republican Party, because that's what they always use, right? They always say, well, we can't do a dirty break because of the authoritarian neo-fascist Republican Party. I'm sorry. Your president just blew up a pipeline that provides natural gas to our allies. Your president is an international terrorist. Okay, so I don't want to hear you fucking weaklings get all triggered about the neo-fascist authoritarian. First of all, that's just a signal that you're going to fall in line. Whenever people start talking like that, that's just a signal that they will fall in line behind the D team. That's all that means. Right. And of course, given everything that's going on in the world right now, I have no patience for people who are so triggered by that in that way.
Welcome to another episode of Straight Outta Politics. I'm your host for today. I'm CJ Compton J on social media, or J in real life. I got to tell you, almost didn't go. We had a meeting with some stuff that RBN could be getting involved with. So that's why, and it was at 3:00. So that's why the late start for today. And then Nick is still in the air flying or traveling back to KC. So we may do another Nick and CJ later tonight, because there will be some stuff to respond to. In particular, Brianna Joy Gray just quote tweeted Nick, critiquing him about his critique of Marianne Williamson. So we'll get into a little bit of that along with what we started with, which is Do Dissidents talking about. Now, we were going to cover this story that they're talking about, the interview she did with Jonathan Capehart, I think that's his name, on MSNBC, which she confirmed she's not doing the dirty break. She's confirmed this several times, but of course, Brianna Joy Gray and the Vanguard aren't going to correct that. They're going to say, obviously, she's not doing a dirty break. Of course, they're not going to do that. If you're squeamish about critiques of Brianna Joy Gray, I would suggest you leave today. I would suggest you leave right now. So if you're squeamish about CJ critiquing professional managerial class member Brianna Joy Gray, I suggest you leave this stream, and I'll see you tomorrow for RBN Live. So, but let's get into this video again. I'll get to some other stuff, but the Vanguard and Brianna Joy Gray claim that Marianne Williamson said she's going to do a dirty break, which she never said whatsoever. We actually did a stream on it, or I did a stream on it, and it's titled, Brianna Joy Gray Tells a Bold-Faced Lie. So look it up. Never said that. They asked her a question, and then she told a historical story. Not an answer at all. But they ran with it because they have something to sell, which is Marianne Williamson. So, and it's been proven multiple times that she's not doing that in multiple interviews, not just RBN. No retraction. They still talk about as if it's a possibility. The Vanguard just had a panel a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks, not quite 2 weeks ago, just had a Marianne Williamson panel where they're still telling the story of somehow she's doing a dirty break, but they do acknowledge in that stream multiple times, we're referring to what she said on our channel. She may have said some other stuff on other channels. Weak shit. But let's listen to Do Dissidents again. Or actually, I'm going to finish out this clip because a lot of the commentary by the one on the right, Russell, so it's pretty spot on. So let's listen.
That when you look at the two parties, when you look at their voters specifically, the ones who, and polling has shown this, the ones who least believe in democracy are actually your side. It's actually the Democrats, and this is why.
Absolutely.
The Democrats have so many views and so many cultural stances that are deeply unpopular. They know that they can only win through anti-democratic means unless you have a plague. Hence, they're deeply suspicious of democracy. Whenever you confront them on these stances, what do they say? Well, desegregation was unpopular once, right? So inherent in that comment is you don't really trust voters. You don't really trust people to make decisions. You're giving away the game right there. You're saying you believe that the country is made up of ignorant bigots who need to be forced to do the right thing by the government. So don't talk to me about fascism. What you believe in, what you really believe in, is a kind of left-wing totalitarianism. That is really what you believe in. You want a government that shares your cultural views. Most people who hold these views don't really care about economics. As you've often said, they don't have problems government can solve. They don't really care about that.
Yeah, so it's more a liberal totalitarianism, not to split.
It's I don't mean it's a liberal totalitarianism. They want a government that can impose their social views on the population, and they're really not all. Who's for censorship? Who are the people who keep leaning on tech platforms to censor? So they're the fascists. I mean, maybe they are, but you're totalitarians. So
Right, yeah, exactly.
you know, it's not like you're great believers in the democratic process. You invoke the name of democracy the way the Roman emperors talked about the republic. It's branding. It's not a reality for you.
Please clap.
That's the guys over at Do Dissidents with that clip, and it's a spot on. It's a spot on critique and analysis of this joke of a candidate that the professional managerial class is trying to trick the workers into surrendering millions of dollars again for a intentionally failed attempt that will sheepdog non-establishment people back to the Democratic Party. That is the plan. So what I do want to do, though, is go to Twitter. And part of the introduction. We're just in an introduction. We haven't gotten to the main part of this. And let's go to my Twitter so we can discuss what just happened, actually. So Nick tweets this out. So what we must understand is that as part of the left, actually, let me say that a different way. As in the video I play many times with Michael Brooks and Vivek Cheber, where they talk about the United States left being overwhelmingly middle class. And with that fact, that means we have a ton of people on the left, quotes, who are part of the professional managerial class. Did I spell professional right? Professional managerial class, which Brianna Joy Gray is smack dab in the middle of that. So we must understand when dealing with Brianna Joy Gray, what we're doing is understanding she's a friend of the show, friend of the network. I like her, but understand that she is part of the professional managerial classes, and she has these times where she relapses. There's times where she relapses back to the professional managerial class speak and thought process. Because the Brianna Joy Gray that we all know and love that critiques the Democratic Party, if this wasn't her friend, I don't even think she would be in this. If Marianne Williamson was not her friend, if Marianne Williamson was not Kyle and Crystal's friend, they would not even be advocating for this person. Because her politics don't even align what you say you believe in. Bree, Kyle, Crystal. She's a Zionist. But you overlook that when she's your friend. So, let me say it this way. So this is Nick. Nick posts this. If he's up at 5 a.m. my time, that must mean Nick was still in Seattle, maybe at the airport waiting to take his flight out. So let's read Nick's thread here. I may have spelled that wrong. So, you understand what that banner means? A hit dog will holler in just a moment here. So this is what RBN brother Nick says. This person the boutique left recruited to run a hard-hitting campaign against Joe Biden. Now, it is Nick and I's belief, and we spoke about this on many streams, that there's some in the professional managerial class, specifically her friends, who knew about this months ago, who knew more than the rest of us knew months ago. Let's put it that way. Maybe they didn't, she said I'm running. Maybe she never said that. But the talk of this, and we would critique Marianne Williamson, not even knowing this was happening 8 months ago, and we would get this pushback, which we thought was unusual pushback. It's like, why so much pushback on her? Doesn't make any sense. Come to find out, she's running for president. And we have to say that I'm going to say this carefully. Those in the Bernie industrial complex in media would benefit if their friend is running for the Democratic nomination for president. So, guess what? Marianne Williamson, you're running for president right now. Let's go on the on the Circular Talk. Let's go on Breaking Points. Let's go on Bad Faith. What does that do for those people? What does that do? What? Is there any benefit in this scenario? If RBN was able to get Andrew Yang when he was running, if we were able to get Bernie Sanders, if we were able to get almost anybody, I'm not going to say everybody, almost anybody who was running for president on our show during the presidential campaign, you don't think that would bring in a whole lot more people to our channel? So because of this, we have to, we on the NATO pseudo left, boutique left, have to suspend policy beliefs in order to push a candidate who doesn't have your policy beliefs. This is what the boutique left and what the NATO left. We have so many things overlapping. We do? I don't think so. I don't think we have a lot in common. There's 2 handfuls of popular topics that we agree on. $15 minimum wage, healthcare for all, corruption, all basic stuff. And we say, stamp, you're on the left. There's like 400 topics, man. And because we agree on 10, somehow we're in the same camp? I don't think so. So let's get to this tweet so I can get through the stream. And what he did, this is a tweet she made, and he quote tweets her. Gave a wonderful speech tonight, so deeply humane and competent. Thank you, Mr. President. Now, this is about Joe Biden. Now, for those in my audience, is there any point in the Biden administration where these words ring true? Name a single point in the Biden administration, including the speeches, where this shit is true. So all Nick did was call it out. What's the problem? Seems like a very milquetoast call out, not to receive any backlash, but Brianna Joy Gray takes, like I said, a hit dog will holler. No one has to like or support Marianne, but repeatedly claiming she's been recruited is odd. Why do you think Brianna Joy Gray, out of all the things Nick says about Marianne Williamson, if you had a multiple choice, what do you think Brianna Joy Gray is going to say quote tweet Nick about? I guarantee almost zero people would be like, the recruited part. Why is she picking that part out? Like I said, a hit dog will holler. Doing so reframes her run as, is she the best imaginable candidate? Instead, is there any value in this running? It suggests Marianne is being used to obscure some mutually exclusive alternative plan of action I'll keep reading. There isn't one so far. Marianne simply chose to run, and the public can choose whether to support her or divest from electoralism altogether. Now, you see what she does here? Is there more answers than this? Is there more answers than supporting her or divesting from electoralism altogether? You see what she's trying to paint here? Yeah. Stay calm here. And the public can choose whether to support her or divest from electoralism altogether. How about this? And the public can choose whether to support her or another candidate or Joe Biden or vote green or leave electoralism. She's putting the support of her up against she's comparing supporting her, Marianne Williamson, or the other option is just to walk away, as if Marianne is only it, if we want to stay in this game. It's preposterous. Let's continue. Many people, despite their disagreements with Marianne, will find value in there being any alternative to Biden campaign, no matter how flawed and even if electoralism isn't their focus. What this is a friend coming to the aid of another friend who's being destroyed in social media, as being laughed at. And RBN and Nick is the source of a lot of that, what's going on. So her friend comes out to support her in Brianna Joy Gray with this nonsensical nonsense right here. This is to say, it's okay to support Marianne Williamson, even if she doesn't have your policy beliefs. Because people can just appreciate another option that they're not going to choose, and that's never going to win. What's the use in a multiple choice answer that's not a choice? That's not even a possibility. What's the use? So it's just bizarre to me that this is the thing that Brianna chooses to point out about all the critiques of Marianne Williamson that comes from Nick, that he has tweeted out, that she has seen. But this one strikes a nerve. Let me read this again here. Many people, despite their disagreements, here goes the professional managerial side. Of Bree. Many people, despite their disagreements with Marianne, will find in there being any alternative to Biden's campaign, no matter how flawed, and even electoralism isn't their focus. So, despite their disagreements, so this is what the professional managerial class does. A disagreement is Medicare for all versus Obamacare. A disagreement is not sending $100 billion to Ukraine. A disagreement is not being a Zionist. Those aren't disagreements. So, to pretend like the people who disagree with her foreign policy, which is awful, somehow finds value in her running so she can get on the stage and say corporate inequality? The fuck out of here, man. So let's continue. No one has to give Marianne money time, but some folks will appreciate the value of having any alternative narrative. Alternative narrative on foreign policy, on war? Alternative narrative on what? Minimum wage? Joe Biden says he wants minimum wage raised. On what? Healthcare is a right? Joe Biden says healthcare is a right. There is zero value in Marianne Williamson running as a candidate. Zero. And actually, it's a negative value because the money she's extracting and the resources she's removing from the proletariat. So it's a negative. No one has to give Marianne money or time, but some folks will appreciate the value of having an alternative narrative. There is no alternative narrative to Biden out there, and that is not the same as being some centrist. I don't understand the choice of focus, and I don't understand your choice of focus either, Brianna. And you can come on RBN, and you and I, or you and Nick, or me, you and Nick can have this conversation. So this is your invitation. Because in the same way you're saying you don't understand the focus of how he's approaching or framing it, I don't understand your focus on this. Outside of a hit dog will holler, unless you're taking it personal. Like you believe we're saying you're the part of the people who got her to run. That this is a plan by you. Unless you're taking it that way, a hit dog will holler. I don't understand your choice of focus here. You're a Green Party voter. Why are you even chiming in for? You claim you don't even support the Democrats. That's what you say. You claim you haven't voted for them since Obama, I believe you say. So it is what it is. So, like I said, Brianna Joy Gray, still friend of the show, still love her. I'm going to talk like this when I disagree every fucking time. And Before Marianne Williamson ran, when we was on her show, what did I say on Bad Faith? I said, Marianne Williamson running, it's going to be a fucking brutal. Because I'm not letting up because it's Bree. Nope. We are not here playing that game. If this was somebody else other than Bree, I would have the same line of attack on her. On them, I should say. It's absurd. Why are you playing Captain Save of Marianne Williamson is the question, Bree. Why are you protecting the Democratic candidate, Bree? That's the question. Anyway, that was an inserted topic. Wasn't even supposed to be part of this stream. But I saw this last minute. I'm like, what the fuck is this? So, Bree has decided to join the pseudo-left reformist crowd on this one with Marianne Williamson. And it's very disappointing. I'm very disappointed because I thought Bree had turned the page. I thought Bree had turned the corner. And this was unneeded, unnecessary, and irrelevant, to be quite frank with you. Final word on that. So let's move now to the next thing. Now let's move to the regular show. Thumbnail topic, of course, everybody's talking about this. Chris, and I watched the special, but Chris did his special where he finally, a year later, talks about, what was I just about to say? Oh, he talks about the slap. I had to look at the screen again. He talks about the slap from Will Smith, and I mean, and full disclosure, my brother writes for Chris Rock, but you know, I've critiqued him before when the first time this thing happened. Basically, my critique was, who gives a fuck what two black so-called capitalists are doing? Who gives a fuck? Now where was I going? Oh, I wanted to go back to Chris Rock. So all right, so let me take the graphic. Oh, I already took the graphic down. Let's go to Chris. Did I save it? I'm not sure if I thumbnailed it or not. But we're going to play a little bit of the part, and I'm sure Netflix, I'm sorry, I won't even say anything. Let's see if I can get it through. So that was an on the fly introduction, and now I'll get into the main topics of today's stream, and that's Chris Rock is the thumbnail topic, and I'll just start off there since we're already 30 minutes in. Chris Rock versus the Smiths, and this will be a short segment because there's not much to say. We're showing the video, and then kind of giving our thoughts about it, and then moving on. It's not going to be a lot to say on this stream, but let's go ahead and do a couple of announcements. Here we go. So Substack, join our Substack if you want notifications when we go live or when we drop clips. Possibly if Nick joins tonight, you'll get notifications. So make sure you join. Oops, sorry. I'm getting a lot of messages here. I need to make sure it's not from a comment. All right, so join our Substack for those notifications, lives, and clips. This was the count a couple of days ago. Thank you. 31,500 we've reached, and thank you for all of those that have subscribed to the Revolutionary Blackout Network. And as I stated earlier, we do have some things cooking in the background. Had a meeting today with the group. I'll just call them a group. And good meeting. And that's the reason why the show started like 45 minutes late or later than normal, because of that. And the other thing here is our website, revolutionaryblackoutnetwork.com. And we also offer memberships now. And I think it's a week ago today. YouTube added the options of membership. Right now, we only have one level because we haven't talked about any other levels. So we just, started one level just to have something out there for people that want to join. And it's there. One other thing. Oh, like the stream. We are at 290, 285 people watching. 250 likes should be the target. So if you're here, like the stream. We're trying to get to 250 likes on this Monday. That's typically a Nick and CJ show on Mondays, and it's our loaded show because there's a lot to talk about over the weekends and everything. But Nick, like I said, is traveling. He went to Seattle to do the worker strike back event, and he had a speech. It's actually, we uploaded it. So if you haven't seen the speech, we uploaded it, I think yesterday. So go through our videos and you can check out his speech that he did at the worker strike back. But today was his flying back day, which is why he wasn't going to be here for the 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. show, I guess today, since we pushed it back. But later tonight, he might be joining just to recap, and I'm sure he might have something to say about the Bree quote tweet. So there you go. Let's now get, actually, forgot to do some comments here. So let's get into a couple of comments. I love seeing all the different colors here. This is Bree being a Ryan Graham save a politician. Yeah. I agree. I do agree. Yeah, get this. And I see some of your comments. We're not putting up any nasty comments about Bree because Bree is not an enemy. Bree is a friend of the show, friend of the network. We just don't agree on Marianne Williamson. And I said this earlier. We said this on her show. I think I was the one who said it. I said, Marianne Williamson, this is not going to be a good fight. This is going to be a knocked out, dragged down fight because we, RBN, we are not, if it's up to us, we are not allowing another candidate to extract millions from workers in the way that Bernie Sanders did. And now he's sheep herding to that same party that he fundraised against, because he a lot of his pitch was the Democrats are this way too, and then he turns around and now is in their pocket, and it's pretty terrible. I didn't know this part though. Kyle Ball. I thought that said Crystal. Kyle Kulinski or Crystal Ball has been pushing Marianne since Bernie's campaign caved. That's something I didn't know. That's something I do. I do have to have my phone volume on because I am waiting for a message. So my apologies for those that keep hearing it. These notifications go off. So yeah, I agree with your take on Bree and Marianne Williamson. And Nick's speech at worker strike back was awesome. Yeah, he brought the house down. I must say, Marianne did that to her. Yeah, maybe it was some sort of spiritual thing, some spirituality, some kind of trance. I'm joking. All right, so I'm just making sure I didn't have any other super chats because I haven't been looking at the comments this entire time, so I have to go through all the comments. to make sure I didn't miss any other super chats or any other new memberships. If I have, just drop a little comment so I can know to go back and look. If I have missed any of super chats that you may have sent, or if you're a new member and I missed when you joined, because there's a little notification I can pop up that you're a new member. But let's get back to this to the original topics for today's stream. And actually, I did not mention that. Let me go over the topics also. Let me go over the topics also. So, of course, this one, Chris Rock versus the Smiths. Then there's an interesting article out, and it talks about how Yemenis nationalists from Yemen are suing weapons manufacturers like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon for aiding in war crimes. And they're also included in the lawsuit is Anthony Blinken and Lloyd Austin. So we're going to cover that. And then, of course, the two most unserious people in politics, Andrew Yang and Marianne Williamson, have a conversation. Hopefully we can get to that. I may have to push that back. Marianne Williamson admits no dirty break. And that was our introduction. We might circle back to that. So there's no dirty break. And then a short clip from CNN where ex-CIA chief Leon Pancetta, Pancetta joins CNN to lie. Sorry, that's the title. Ex-CIA chief Leon Pancetta joins CNN to lie. So we'll cover that. It's a short clip. He covers a couple of things, the war in Ukraine and also China. So we'll talk about that. And then Russia has completely surrounded a town in Ukraine called Bakhmut. I think that's how you say it. So we'll talk about that and what's happening there. And then Kyle Kulinski does another video calling out the mainstream media for smearing Marianne Williamson. So those are the topics I hope to get to today. We'll see if I'm able to do that. Let's play. I'm getting a little fearful of playing this here because of copyright. So let me see if I have another thing here I can play. So 1 second here. The thing about the Chris, and I guess I can start here. The thing about the Chris, the thing about the Chris Rock stand-up that happened last night, a lot of people are talking about what he said about Will Smith. But guess what the Fox News and conservatives are talking about? His jokes on wokeism. He basically calls out wokeism. He basically calls out Meghan Merkel, is that her name? Meghan Merkel. For saying something, she called something racist, and he was saying it's not racist. But what do you expect from a black capitalist? A black aspiring capitalist in Chris Rock? What do you expect from a house Negro? What do you think a house Negro is going to say about the slave master? What do you think that's going to happen? So essentially, that's what Chris does. And like I said, my brother works for Chris, and I have this criticism. And not going to, change it just because of that fact. I'm looking for a version of the video where it doesn't show the actual video. It's like a picture as it's playing the content. So I think I found one. Let me see here. Yeah, okay. I think I found one because I don't want any copyrights. That's an actual, somebody videotaped it on their phone as they were watching it. and I don't want to play that because I don't want to. I'm trying my best not to get a copyright on this video. So let's unshare this and share the other one where it's just a picture and it's just audio. So let me see here.
Chris Rock ate a slap.
Oh, I gotta listen to this. All right, so where else can I go? Okay, I know where another guy who covered this, and let me find him. There goes ours right there, but that's not the one. I'm looking for something popcorn. Is it okay? It's this one right here, Popcorn Planet. Now, so let's listen, and of course, I'll fast forward through when the host speaks because we're not really here to hear his analysis of it. We're just here to hear what Chris said, but I'm trying to do it in a way where we're not getting a copyright. So let's listen to this first part.
Everybody trying to be a victim. Like, well, what's this girl, Meghan Markle? Seemed like a nice.
Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy.
So now let's go to the video. Let's see. Let's let him play it here. Does it let it play? All right. I don't think I have the patience for this. So, all right. We'll just get a copyright strike. Not a copyright strike, but the video will just be demonetized.
The baby was gonna be.
So let's just
so
watch
racist. They wanted to know
watch
how
it on Twitter since I know it's gonna work because I don't have the patience to keep, searching and trying to find all of this. So let's just go to Twitter and do it from there. All right. Chris Rock. Yeah. And we will do it from here. All right, so we will just play the video. And for those who are squeamish about jokes, you get offended, maybe you should turn away for this segment if you get squeamish about jokes. I forgot, I should have prefaced the story a little bit better than that. So, Aaron, let's start here. So, Chris Rock did his special where he finally talks about the slap from Will Smith. But in as the title describes, selective outrage, the point is that he's outraged about the joke, but he's not outraged about the other thing. Okay. All right. Nick just got back in town. He said he'll be back tomorrow. So, he's jet lagged. He probably sleep a little bit, rest, and then he'll be back on RBN Live tomorrow. So nothing today. I forgot my train of thought. But he talks about the slap, and he essentially says Will Smith has selective outrage because he's outraged about the joke, but he didn't show any outrage about the red table talk conversation with his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. And he basically says Will Smith is upset, but he's really upset at what his wife, the situation she publicly put him in, and then he just basically took it out on Chris. I'll let him kind of give it more detail, but I needed to preface the story before we actually played the video. My apologies. So I hope now that gives you a better understanding of where this clip is coming from. Chris. So when he gets to a part, he's going to get to a part where he describes, Will Will Smith is significantly bigger than him, and I can attest to that. Like, I'm not a tall guy, and I'm not a big guy, and Chris is smaller than me in height and like weight, and I'm not big at all. And I mean, I've met Will before. I don't know him like that, but I met Will before. I think when I met him, he wasn't all bulked up. It was a long time ago. Yeah, but I mean, he's tall. He's tall. At the time, he was tall. But I would assume, since bulking up for Ali, the movie Ali, that he's probably pretty yoked up, and for other movies, other action movies he's done. So let's continue. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm in a Hollywood scene, but I don't think I recognize you, so you probably knew and don't know this about me. But this is actually, my background is film production. So before I was doing this, when the pandemic was going on, I was literally, when the pandemic and everybody was ordered into their homes, and like in the beginning, I was on set filming a web series called The Fantastic Felines of South Bay. The Fantastic Felines of South Bay, where I was the director and the executive producer on. And if you've ever seen the show What's Happening Now, I'm sorry, What's Happening, it's an old show, I think it's the 70s or 80s, 70s, about a black family in Watts. There's a character on there called Rerun. His son was actually the DP on that set. So I wouldn't necessarily say I'm in a Hollywood scene, like I'm smoozing with these celebrities, not at all. I'm just saying, this is my background. My brother also, he's a comedian, but before that, he's a director and a writer. A couple of independent films he has done, and then lucked out and met Chris while writing on Everybody Hates Chris. So yeah. We are, my family is a family of entertainers. My sister sings, play the piano. She sung with people like Jamie Foxx out here in Hollywood on stage. She has that on video and she shows everybody. So yeah, we're a family of entertainers. That is sort of our business. Yeah. All right, so back to the story. Here. That's what the fuck happened, okay? Yeah, I mean, that sums it up. It was some bitch ass shit. I said it in the previous video. We're gonna move on from this topic because there's not much to say. Like, this is his response, and I think it's an appropriate response. Me particular, I probably would have went a lot harder at him than this, but it's an appropriate response to what happened to him. It's preposterous from my point of view that people are getting upset about jokes. It's preposterous to me. About jokes, not about speeches, not about policy. I'm talking about jokes. And jokes are offensive. That is almost the point of jokes, or that is where humor is drawn from pain. So I don't believe in censoring people, not even comedians. You want to say you love the KKK? Say you love the KKK. You want to make a joke about slavery? Make a joke about slavery. Like, I don't agree with a lot of the jokes. I don't laugh. I just don't laugh if I don't find it funny. And that's sort of my stance. But I mean, if you aren't the popping and locking. So yeah, so there's a lot of people who know what's happening. A lot of people who know the show was happening. I thought maybe you wouldn't know. Yes, the character Rerun. His son is a junior, so Fred Berry. His name was Fred Berry. His son Fred Berry Jr., friend of mine. Does great work as a DP, and he was a DP on that set. But anyway, I didn't finish the story. I was on set for Fantastic Felines of the South Bay, which is essentially a story about. It's like take Mean Girls. They all graduate 5 years later, and then they all kind of come back to play in a flag football league. So it's not really about the flag football. It's all about the cliques from high school, and those people, when they reunite for this league, they sort of have the same cliques. You got the popular girls, you got the outcast girls, the athletic crew. So great script. Unfortunate, was never able to shoot it and finish it, but it was fun. But anyway, with the point of me bringing that back up, the pandemic happened, and literally the production had to shut down. Thought, we'll be back in a couple of months. Thought that the pandemic was like 2 months. Believe that? At the time when the pandemic happened, I thought the pandemic, we'll be back to normal in 2 months. Had no idea. Had no idea. Hollywood CJ. That could be a cool name, actually. Somebody in there, I can't find that comment. That could have been a cool name. Yeah. Hollywood CJ. Compton J. Hollywood. It's 3 syllables, Compton, and maybe the 2 syllables works better. But anyway, I'm done with this segment. I've just been rambling on. Let's get to the next topic here. And the next topic, let's see what's up next. Let's get the videos out of the way so we can make sure we cover them. So maybe let's go to the Andrew Yang video. So we're gonna go to YouTube and go to the Andrew Yang. It was very hard to find footage of that Chris Rock special. It was very, very hard to find it initially, but now everybody has it. And I am looking now for. We did the Due Dissidents. We did the. That's my daughter watching Mega Builders. Okay. I see 2 stories here. So let's go here. I should have did the John Morant story. Let's actually go here and do this quick story. This is the CIA, ex-CIA chief, Leon Panetta, and his appearance on CNN with Jim Acosta. And they're talking about that same city that I mentioned before in Ukraine, Bakhmut. I think that's how you say it.
Mr. Secretary, always great to have you.
Oops, didn't mean to have it start already. So, pivot
on. It does seem to be a critical time for Ukrainian forces around Bakhmut after so many months of fighting to take control of that area.
Sorry, everybody. Something's going on. I'll refresh it to see. All right, so this next topic is ex-CIA chief on CNN for lies. So this is the next topic that we're going to be talking about. We're just going to show a video and then we're going to react to it. And Aaron, you can start it here. All right, so here is ex-CIA chief Leon Panetta on CNN with Jim Acosta talking about an array of things. And if there's a CIA person speaking, that means there's lies being told. Just understand that. So let's listen to Leon Panetta on CNN. He talks about a couple of things: China, Russia, Ukraine war, of course, and this city where this battle is where it's about to be taken by Russia, Bakhmut. I think that's how you said it too.
Critical time for Ukrainian forces around Bakhmut after so many months of fighting to take control of that area. How much of a political prize is this for Russia if they can seize this part of Ukraine?
Well, there's no question that there's a psychological impact when the Russians are able to gain anything in the Ukraine these days. I'm not sure it's that important a strategic military target because it's been destroyed by the Russians and turned into ashes. And so I understand the game of trying to gain any territory you can. But I think this is more of a.
It says former defense secretary. I could have swore he was a former CIA. CIA chief. Let me make sure. He could be both. Leon Panetta, CIA. CIA director. Yes. Okay, so yeah, he was one of those two. So it says Leon Panetta is an American politician, Democratic Party politician who served in several different political office positions, Secretary of Defense, CIA director, White House chief of staff. Okay, so we got all of it. And he was a representative from California. For those that didn't even know that about it, he was actually elected representative from California. So it's okay that I still have the ex-CIA chief because he was that. All right, so let's continue. I needed to make sure that was correct.
A preliminary step for both sides in terms of getting ready for the next chapter in this war, which is going to involve some serious offensives on both sides, not just Russia, but I think Ukraine will conduct an offensive. And I think it's going to be a critical moment that will tell us a lot about the future of this war.
Absolutely. And let's talk about China. Came up a lot on the Sunday talk shows earlier today. And I have to ask you this: in a draft budget report released this morning, China unveiled its annual military budget for this year, which shows an increase of just over 7% to roughly $224 billion. China keeps ramping things up on the military.
This is such a joke. The United States and their PR arm has the audacity to bring up any country increasing their military spending because they increased theirs 7.2% by what you're saying to $224 billion. You're at like almost 4 times that, the United States. The United States is almost at 4 times that. Yeah, almost 4 times that. At, what is it, 700, 800 billion, something like that? Hovering around that amount. But this really should be like a part of the propaganda report segment here.
Military front. How much of a concern does this need to be for the intelligence community, for the Pentagon moving forward, do you think?
Well, we have to pay attention to what China is doing. Obviously, China is not just a competitor in the world, but in many ways they're an adversary in the world. And we have to pay attention to the amount of money they're putting into defense, into space, what they're doing in terms of militarizing the South China Sea, their threats to Taiwan. So it is of concern. And our intelligence officials, our military officials have to constantly analyze what steps China is taking in order to be prepared to counter.
So I was the viewer on the other side of this once upon a time. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, especially, I would be watching this thinking, well, Leon Panetta, with all the years of experience, that makes him an expert, and we should be listening to him. when that is actually the opposite. There is literally no reason for these networks to bring on these ex-government officials to chime in on what's happening now, specifically CIA, when you know what they say about CIA agents. You're never really out of the CIA. You're never really out of it or retired. So we have to ask yourself, why media is supposed to be where you're bringing on these peoples to gain information from them. You're trying to extract information for the people. But corporate media is not that. It's we bring on somebody so you and I together, my guest and me, the so-called journalists, are going to tap dance and present a narrative for our audience. And that's what they're doing here.
Whatever they do. Look, the only way to deal with China is from strength. So it's very important that the United States make very clear where the lines are in terms of Taiwan, in terms of the South China Sea, in terms of just their defense buildup and where it should go. Ultimately, you would hope that we could reestablish some kind of dialogue with China, but we're not there yet, and I suspect we're probably going to go through a very tense period in our relationship before, hopefully, we're able to talk to one another.
And I hate to ask you about politics, but let me do that. Former President Donald Trump, as you know, just won the very unscientific CPAC straw poll. Need to emphasize it's unscientific. But he is leading in just about all of the polls on the Republican side right now.
Despite all of the manufacturing of consent that all of the liberal media has been trying to say about DeSantis. Oh, Republicans have finally left Trump and they're on to DeSantis. All of this manufacturing of consent, you're trying to convince people when that hasn't happened. When's the straw poll? So what do? It's not a scientific poll. Means nothing.
I know it is very early in the process, but I have to ask you, what message would it send to the world if Trump were to somehow get back into the White House? You are, in addition to being a wise elder.
What message would it send to the world if Trump was elected again? How would it be any different than any message of any president that we supposedly have democracy? Right, Jim?
When it comes to national security and intelligence matters, you know this game as well as just about anybody, former White House Chief of Staff and so on. Do you think Trump could do it again? And what does that say to the world, that he's even in this position right now?
Well, I don't think we should kid ourselves. I think the reality is that he has support in the Republican Party, and that he could very well be the candidate for the Republican Party. I think it would be a terrible message to send to the.
It's a little bit of realization. It feels like the media with the CPAC event that just happened. I think me and Nick may cover CPAC on Wednesday or some other day or Thursday whenever we get back together. But they have to acknowledge that all of their hand wringing, all of their campaign against Donald Trump has fallen short. From the impeachment, that didn't do anything. January 6th, he's trying to overturn, that didn't do anything. And I mean, I know you already know all of the other stuff pre all of that. None of that does anything. The lawsuits, Letitia James over in the AG over in New York State. None of these things, and I think there are also some stuff going on in Georgia. I think is going on, some lawsuits in Georgia or something like that. None of those things has done anything to dampen the support for Donald Trump. And they know it's an acknowledgement. It's a fear and anxiety. They know that Donald Trump will literally beat any Democrat that they're talking about right now. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, even Marianne Williamson would get demolished. Marianne Williamson, and they're talking about Robert Kennedy Jr. joining the race, and anybody else. There might be a fight if it's like Barack. Like Barack, Bernie at the top of the ticket and Barack. Maybe that they may beat Donald Trump. But let Trump pick DeSantis as a vice president, and that shit is a wrap. It's a wrap.
The world, if in fact he is a candidate again for president of the United States, because I believe that
he destroyed DeSantis in the poll. Trump wins CPAC straw poll 62%. DeSantis gets 20. That's more than 3 times. All the propaganda against Donald Trump is doing nothing to affect the people that support him.
His whole America First approach to foreign policy, his desire to essentially withdraw from the world in terms of a leadership position for the United States would be devastating to our foreign policy at this point in time in the 21st century. Look, in the end, I really believe that he's a loser, and that even if he gets the nomination, he will lose. But
so who?
The mere fact that he would be nominated by the Republican Party would be a scary step in the 21st century.
And just a quick follow. I mean, I think it would definitely mean a big change in terms of how the U.S. deals with Ukraine.
Oh
and God. There goes the whole game right there. And I've said this before in another stream. Donald Trump has like 95, 98% of the same politics. But there's something the establishment, the ruling class and donors, and they don't like about him. And that is, he doesn't view the military-industrial complex and war the same way as establishment. Not saying he's pro-peace. He just doesn't see the same way. Like with NATO, he's like, why are we paying for all this? When are y'all going to start kicking in your money? We're not like, he's that way and saying it out in the open. They don't want that guy to be the face of the military-industrial complex, weapons manufacturers. He gives an ugly face to an ugly empire. And an ugly empire just wants to have that nice smile, like a Barack Obama smile. Let's finish out this segment and
we've just gone through a few years where fortunately we've been able to reestablish the United States' role as a world leader.
Oh my God.
And I think President Biden basically
reestablished? Where did it go when Trump was in office? Where was it? There's literally no reason for them to bring on ex-military, ex-CIA people unless they're trying to convince you of something. And it's coming from this high priest of a person. You build up your guests, and they build up these guests. He's an expert in this, and this. So you should listen to what he's saying, right? About everything else, about China, about Trump, about Russia and Ukraine. All right, I prolonged this segment for too long. Let's finish out the last 40 seconds and move on.
He said to the world that the United States is back, and he's kind of he's made very clear that the United States, working with our allies, are going to be unified in confronting adversaries like Putin and China, North Korea, Iran, and others. We have to be unified in the world. Look, it's a dangerous world. It's going to require United States world leadership. And the last thing the United States needs to do is to elect somebody like Trump who doesn't want to be a world leader, who ignores the rest of the world. It would weaken the United States, and very frankly, it would be very dangerous for the world.
All right. Former Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta, great to see you.
Weapons manufacturers called in the big guns. They said, hey, this war propaganda is not working. Public sentiment is dying, and we ain't got off our money, sir. So send out the big guns, and they sending them out. This is really that Trump is dangerous because Trump is talking about peace in Ukraine. Trump is dangerous for a whole lot of other reasons, but it's not for what they're saying. Trump is not dangerous for what they're saying. Trump is dangerous for the same reasons Joe Biden is dangerous. He's not any particular different sort of specific danger outside of any president. But he's a danger to weapons manufacturers' pocketbooks, I guess, if you were to believe that he really wants to negotiate peace. And I'm not sure that's the case. He could just be talking. All right. Let's go to the next story. And where am I? I'm on YouTube. So maybe we could. So I haven't watched the is it circular talk? I haven't watched the episode. What I saw was that it was coming up that he was going to be interviewing or talking about Marianne Williamson. Let's see if it dropped the video I was expecting. Let's see if that video dropped so that we can watch and discuss here. Let me just see. 3 hours ago, 1 day ago. It wasn't that one. Okay, here it goes right here. Another one. Wow. So 3 hours ago.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. I got an awesome one for you today. So Marianne Williamson has now officially launched her campaign for president.
Wait a minute. Did he just re-upload this? Let me see. This is a new one. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so this does look like a newer one. I just needed to make sure because I literally covered another one like this where it had a very similar name, and I'll actually maybe that's it. Let me see how. Sorry, everybody, because I covered this. He must have changed the name of it because I covered. Did I go live yesterday? Oh, I wonder if did I cover this yesterday? Marianne Williamson pressed on. Oh, anyway, we will play it. 1 second, everybody. Let me go down a little bit more to make sure I did not skip over something here. Wow. Okay, here it goes down here. Media already smearing Marianne Williamson. It's a different video. Okay, glad that I confirmed. It is a different video that I already covered. I wanted to make sure I'm not covering the same one. So wow, he's wearing the same thing. This has to be the same video. Let me go back to that other video. Let me click on it and see what it has here.
It's a red state. And the only reason.
Okay. He just dresses very similarly. That's why. It is a different video. So my bad, everybody, for prolonging this part right here. This is a brand new video. I needed to make sure. This is a brand new video. It's not a retread. So,
all right, guys, welcome to the show. I got an awesome one for you today. So, Marianne.
So we'll listen to a little bit of this, and then we'll get to the next story. So if you just got here, get some popcorn, have a seat. We're going to be talking about Kyle K. defend M. Williamson again. And we will go here. So, all right. So, but before we do that, for those that just joined, make sure you join our Substack. Oops. Substack is right here. Make sure you join our Substack so that you're getting notifications when we go live or upload clips. We're currently at 250 likes. So hit that like button. Let's get to 300. We're over 300 people watching, so let's get to 350 more people. Hit that like button. Let's get to 300 likes, and we got a couple of stories left. And let me just remind you which ones we have left. We have this one: Kyle Kulinski defends Marianne Williamson. Then we have another interview of Andrew Yang with Marianne Williamson. And then the Yemen story. Okay. All right, so we should be able to fit all of those in before we're done. But again, hit that like button to get us to 300 likes. The other thing is our email and website address. And here is our website address here, revolutionaryblackout.com. And our email, info@revblacknetwork.com. All right. Quick announcements, and now back to the stories. Kyle defends Marianne Williamson again.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. I got an awesome one for you today. So, Marianne Williamson has now officially launched her campaign for president of the United States. I'm going to show you some clips from that. I'm going to show you the media reaction and the DC insider reaction, and the latter will probably make you furious. So we'll get to that. We also have Bernie Sanders and Bill Maher debate student loan debt reduction. That's fun. Jon Stewart pummels a Republican state senator into the ground over the issue of gun reform. And
what does that do? You forgot he had Condoleezza Rice and Hillary Clinton. Like Jon Stewart, I'm so done with that guy. He goes from being good to being literally terrible. Like having Condoleezza Rice and Hillary Clinton on as if they're not war criminals. Let's continue with Kyle.
And the right is letting it all hang out when it comes to trans issues. We now have Michael Knowles, or as I call him, the Daily Wire third stringer. He gave a speech at CPAC where he said, and I quote, "eradicate transgenderism." Okay, not exactly subtle there. And then you also have the Daily Wire is making a huge culture war.
Let's get to this.
Says terminate the Constitution over on Truth Social, just like screaming authoritarianism. Then you have Ron DeSantis, who's Donald Trump 2.
Oh, let's listen to this presentation. Let me rewind it. It looks like he's giving the choices you have.
You have Donald Trump, scary as hell, January 6th, says terminate the Constitution over on Truth Social, just like screaming authoritarianism. Then you have Ron DeSantis, who's Donald Trump 2.0. Those are your options there. And then on the Democratic side, you have Joe Biden, who's roughly 712 years old. He has trouble speaking in full sentences. He's a gaffe machine. And so, in other words, everything's ripe for a challenger, any challenger, to come along and say, yeah, I'm going to take him on. And just by virtue of the facts on the ground as they are, one should take this candidate seriously. Because, look, you only have like 25% of the country wants to see Joe Biden run again. It's abysmally low. So now you have your first officially declared Democratic candidate. So everybody's going to be fair. Everybody's going to say, well, let's wait and see what happens, right? No, of course not. So I'm going to get to some stories that highlight that in just a second. But first, let's go to the exclusive interview she gave to ABC. This was the very, this was the big one. They got the scoop on it. And let's see what John Carl asks.
You have been called, I think it was the Associated Press, said you are the longest of long shots. And, you know, look, you've never held elected office before. You've run before, you've lost. Why do you think you can do this?
Here we go.
Here we go what? Here we go what? She has never held elected office before, and she lost the last time she ran by a lot. Did she even break 10%? But when she was on your interview, when you on the Kyle and Crystal show, when you interviewed her, that softball interview, I think I covered it yesterday. Can Joe Biden, you asked her, can Joe Biden beat Donald Trump? No, I don't think so. Can you beat Donald Trump? And she says yes. I'll keep that second.
You've been called the longest of the longington shots. So long. You're such a long shot. It's so long. So why do you think you could do that?
What does this do? So mimicking the person and repeating what they said, which is a true statement, people are laughing at you, Kyle. People are laughing at you. This is pretty disgusting. Now I look at his face, because looking at his face, having a realization, this is literally friends of Marianne Williamson are the only ones advocating and defending her, including Brianna Joy Gray. I already discussed it earlier today. That's it. Everybody else knows this is a clown show. Everybody else knows that Marianne Williamson is a clown car with minus, not zero value, because in Brianna Joy Gray's tweet, to pretend like she has no value, she has less than zero value. She has negative value because she's extracting millions from the working class. So it's less than zero value that Marianne Williamson has.
You've never even been a politician.
That's his way of addressing it. It's not. Let's see if there's a substantive pushback. Let's see. Let's see if he brings up some articles. What do you mean? This is her numbers in 2020. You see this? What do you mean? But like, show us something other than just saying, mimicking the person as if that is your slave. Let's go.
Okay. All right. But her answer is phenomenal. She knocks it out of the park.
The Associated Press also said that Hillary Clinton was a shoo-in. I'm sure that they would have
I don't know if they
said,
would have used that language.
maybe
actually.
not.
The Associated Press also said Hillary Clinton is a shoo-in. And then Kyle just kind of looks at the screen like, oh, point, mic drop. No, it's not. Hillary Clinton has been elected a bunch of times. Hillary Clinton in the Clinton machine is the top family in Washington. Well, probably now it's the Obamas. You don't have a Clinton machine behind her. You don't have corporations in your back pocket. You don't have polling that this outlet that you guys are using as an example. That's why they said what they said. So you to give a pushback, well, they also said that was based on polling. That was based on evidence. Yours has none of that. So you're trying to act like this is a win. A mic drop. It's not, Kyle.
But that
John, virtually everybody in corporate media thought she was a shoo-in. Why are you lying? This is a lie.
Here is where I can't. Let's let this play.
Of course, everybody thought that. You probably thought that. I don't know if they would have said that. God,
What does that have to do with the Associate Press saying you're the longest a long shot? You two are two different people. She's been elected. You have not.
That's a good point.
That system, you know exactly what I'm saying. So the system that is now saying that I'm unserious, I'm not credible, or I'm a long
The system is not telling you you're uncredible. Just corporate media.
shot is the very system that protects and maintains this idea that only
And it's the same system, Marianne, that's sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. The same system.
those whose careers have been entrenched within the system that drove us into a ditch should possibly be considered qualified to lead us out of that ditch. My qualification is not that I know how to perpetuate that system. My qualification is that I know how to disrupt it.
And he's looking at the screen like Jim does from The Office. I guess Kyle is playing Jim from The Office now. He keeps looking at the screen, but she hasn't landed a point, sir.
Look, from my perspective, that is exactly right. It's
from the perspective of a person who will gain financially by bringing on said candidate. Yeah, your perspective is
it's a knock against you if you've been part of this system your entire life, because this system is abysmal. This system is corrupt. This system is devastatingly terrible. I mean, when you have about 70% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck, 85 million Americans who are uninsured or underinsured, I mean, the list goes on and on. You know the numbers that we can go through here. If you've been part of that all along, that's a strike against you. To mainstream media, it's like, oh, they're a very serious and respected politician who's had power. Yeah, and what have they done with that power? Dickie McGee's acts. So if you're an outsider candidate, to me, that's more interesting and intriguing. Now, that doesn't mean that literally anybody who's an outsider would make a good president. Of course not. That'd be ridiculous. But if you're an outsider, you're untouched by the corruption, and at least you have a chance. At least you have a chance to bring new, fresh ideas. Okay, so now, Marianne Williamson, this is from her launch speech. I thought this was a phenomenal point.
And those pseudo-sophisticates who give us their PR about how they're the adults, you see, and people like myself and people like most of you should really sit down now. They would have a...
That's exactly what Crystal Ball said about your candidacy. She told us to sit down and grow up or something like that.
Think this whole thing is just too complicated. No, ladies and gentlemen, the problem is not that it's complicated. The problem is that it is corrupt. And to those who feel...
We watched this already. Let's fast forward to the next thing that he critiques, and that's this video here. This was a kind of big video. We retweeted it over at Revolutionary Blackout, but let's listen.
All right, so here's how
to this next video
talking about
right
Marianne Williamson's campaign. Buckle up.
Right now, Marianne Williamson announcing her candidacy at an event in Washington, D.C. The author and spiritual advisor first ran in 2020, but dropped out before the primaries. Want to bring in Lindy Lee, a member of the DNC's National Finance Committee, along with MSNBC political analyst and Republican strategist Susan Del Percio as well. Welcome to you both, guys. Thanks for joining us on this. Lindy, let me just start with you on this one, and wondering if you feel as if, because of this announcement now coming on from Marianne Williamson, that it will kind of put Biden in the hot seat, the president in the hot seat, to officially announce that he is running for re-election.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me. I don't consider Marianne Williamson to be much of a threat. She's a spiritualizer and a 2020 also ran who may not even make the debate stage, let's be honest.
That is a fact. That is a fact, what she just said. You can not like it, And David Pakman, who I don't even agree with most things, also made this point. She is Joe. If you think Joe Biden is getting on the stage with a single candidate, and that candidate in a debate is Marianne Williamson, you have lost your mind. There is no way in hell that will ever happen.
Thank you for having me. I don't consider Marianne Williamson to be much of a threat. She's a spiritualizer and a 2020 also ran who may not even make the debate stage. Let's be honest. I think the best way to handle her is not to address her at all, because I don't think many people consider her to be a major Democrat. And age is a concern for some, for Biden, but she's 70 years old. So
She's like 10 years younger.
she doesn't exactly represent a new generation of leadership either. And she has no platform.
How come you didn't look at the screen right there, Kyle? With that point, you made sure your eyes were looking down, right?
Speak of other than some nebulous Department of Peace.
Where do I even begin with?
Kyle is an actor. This is acting. Pretending as if you watching that video talking about where do you begin. Begin at the beginning. Stop pretending to be outraged by what they said. She's a terrible candidate that nobody's going to vote for.
Nebulous Department of Peace.
Where do I even begin with this? You guys are supposed to at least pretend to be objective. These are the people who say, you know, they're the straight shooters. We're the news. We just tell it like it is. So you invite on two people.
She's not the news. That one girl is not an anchor.
People, a Democrat and a Republican, and they both despise Marianne Williamson. And they both.
And let me let this play so I can get to
go after her. You're going to have zero representation of a position that's even slightly open to her, never mind supporting her. This is what you're going to do? This is how you're going to treat it? You're saying she has no policies? Have you read nothing of what she's written? Have you listened to nothing?
We don't let her say the policies. Jason Call is doing this too, just like they did with Joe Biden. Joe Biden, why is he not talking about $15? He does want $15 minimum wage. Go to his site. No, nigga, why is he not saying it on the campaign trail? Don't point me to no website. Why is the candidate not saying it?
Thing of what she said, she's been very clear for a long time now. Medicare for all, free college.
She's been very, you notice he had to say that? She's been very clear for a long time now because she wasn't on Medicare for all till recently. Like what we're seeing with the Kyle Kulinski show, Breaking Points, and all these people, this is manufacturing consent for this candidate. This is access journalism. We have the professional managerial class, which is destroying independent media with this type of clown shit like this that you're seeing here.
Eliminate all student loan debt, living wage, negotiation and diplomacy when it comes to foreign policy to end war.
Negotiation and diplomacy. You mean send Ukraine some more money? Because that's what she wants to do.
She's got way more policies on the table than Joe Biden does. What are you talking about? This is nothing but a massive smear job. Everybody fall in line. Don't think. Fall in line. Support Biden no matter what. Support Biden.
That's exactly what you're trying to do. The pot calling the kettle. You're what they're doing on corporate media, which is true. Manufacturing consent for Joe Biden, but you're doing the same thing for Marianne Williamson. The same exact thing you're doing, Kyle.
No matter what. She's saying, don't even debate her. Don't pay her any mind. Again, what happened to the whole democracy thing you guys were just pretending like you cared so deeply about? Democracy, unless it's inconvenient for me, in which case just totally ignore, don't even allow a debate, don't even allow a discussion. You are so scared of Biden's weakness, you don't think he could even debate Marianne Williamson? He can't even have a discussion with her, a conversation with her, some disagreement on policy? How weak are you? How pathetic are you? How sad is MSNBC?
Has Kyle always been like this? Because I, as a director, I can clearly see this person is acting. And it doesn't mean he doesn't believe the words, but he's adding extra emphasis here, adding shit here. I can clearly see this guy is acting. And I didn't look at this person previous, so this is who he's always been for me. So I'm asking, is there another version of him that wasn't like this? Or has he always seems like he's acting? That's the question. Has he always been a podcaster who seems like he's acting? Because this is an act. He has a friend he's trying to push, and that's where he's getting these extra adjectives for to describe her.
BC. I can't get over it. Again, look, when you watch this show or you watch other new media shows, we come.
In 2020, Kyle called her kooky, I think. Kyle called her kooky, but now he's here with like here. He's at this place with her.
I'm as advertised. I give you news and information and facts, but then I always give you my opinion. I'm a commentator. That's my role. That's my job. These people pretend like they're in the news business. And you do a segment on Marianne Williamson, her.
That is actually the same thing. You are a commentator. They are a commentator.
Same thing. And even at the very beginning, you can't give her a fair shot. It's here's a Democrat who's going to shit on her. Here's a Republican who's going to shit on her. So I guess that's all you need to know for the viewer. Unserious. See what they're doing.
We had you who wasn't going to shit on her, and you had Kyle Kulinski who wasn't going to shit on her in an interview on your own network. So all you did was the opposite of what they did, Kyle. So they went all in on her, red and blue, and you and Crystal are going all out for her. It is literally no difference.
They're laying out the parameters of the Overton window. And the parameters are, if you even entertain her.
Overton window shouldn't even come out of your mouth, man. That is a word that you should never even utter, is Overton window. Nobody on the pseudo left, nobody on the NATO left should ever be uttering the words Overton window whatsoever.
Campaign. You're unserious, ridiculous, idiot. They're trying to control you. They're trying to force your hand and limit your options on purpose. And this is exactly what they did, the DNC did, with changing their.
So Marianne Williamson, just like in corporate media, for politicians, Marianne Williamson has essentially independent reporters who are in her back pocket and who are only going to come on and say good things. Kyle Kulinski really breaking points, and all of their people attached to breaking points, including Kyle Kulinski, they have managed to take corporate news, repackage it as independent, and that's all they're doing.
Schedule around. Could you imagine being so naive that you actually believe moving the first contest to South Carolina is about diversity, is about people?
Yeah. I guess this is complete projection. This is a fantasy world that they're living in and describing and trying to convince you of.
People of color? No, it's a power play. It's about trying to rig it in favor of Joe Biden. And this approach is further trying to rig it for Joe Biden. She's unserious, and I don't want anybody to ever entertain her for even a single second so that we can then manifest into reality her unseriousness by keeping her numbers low. This is what they're trying to do. Are you?
That's what they're gonna do. Y'all gonna blame her awful low numbers on that when she's just awful. She had awful low numbers before in 2020.
Going to sit there and take it? Or are you going to stand up and say, fuck these people, man. These people are the problem. And again,
like Kyle can only convince a certain segment of people of this nonsense. There's no way socialists are believing this. There's no way communists is buying this garbage that he's saying. Even some non-establishment people like free Assange people, like they're not, this is not for them. Like he's not convincing anybody outside of a small segment of people that he could reach. Like a Vanguard, like the two guys on Vanguard, that's the audience that what Kyle is saying here could actually reach and convince. Not anybody I know. Absolutely not. Not anyone that I know. I do want to bring up one thing here before we get to the next. Oh, sorry. Before we get to the Yemen story, which is just an article, let me bring this up here and quickly talk about this because there is there is an update or some new happenings that's happening with Cop City that we should briefly kind of talk about. So let's give an update on Stop Cop City and the upcoming day of. Actually, I can't remember the phrasing, but March 9th, there is going to be some activism around Stop Cop City. So here's a brief update on Cop City and what has been going on. And let me read you this caption here. This is from Breakthrough News. Last night, Atlanta police arrested 30 people, charging many with domestic terrorism. Those arrested included at least one legal observer doing a festival and gathering organizers as part of a week of Action to Stop Cop City. That's the part. Action to Stop Cop City is coming up on the 9th. A $90 million police militarization facility. So let's watch this here.
Atlanta police officers descended on a gathering of activists and arrested 30 people and at least one legal observer. Activists organized a music festival for families as part of their week of action to stop the building of Cop City in Atlanta, where police showed up and started to harass participants. The Atlanta Police Foundation is building a $90 million police militarization facility to train officers in urban warfare, which is known by activists as Cop City. Legal observers wear bright green hats to differentiate themselves from action attendees, and their purpose is to ensure people's constitutional right to protest is protected. The work of legal observers is crucial. Observers collect names of people arrested at protests as the first step towards ensuring that they have legal representation. This gathering is one of many actions happening this week by activists who are calling on people around the country to support them in their fight against the building of Cop City. Atlanta police officers descended on a gathering of activists and arrested 30 people and at least one legal
So Atlanta Police Foundation, Cop City is, the flagship project, but they do a lot of other insidious things in Black working class communities to facilitate gentrification specifically, right? So one of their projects that we have a campaign against in the Pittsburgh neighborhood is their Secure Neighborhoods Initiative. As part of this is that they build housing, single family housing for police officers. They get subsidized mortgages. They get a car to take home with them, and they get $500. I recently learned $500 a month if they provide neighborhood reports, right? So these are based.
Okay, it was the first time I seen that, so I wanted to hear exactly what she was saying before I started over because I was on mute. So let's go back. Let's go back. All right, so you know why this is so big? Okay, I have this blown up. That's why I can't understand what's happening here. All right, so let's go back and do this again since I was on mute for a couple minutes there. And I want to show some video footage of the latest, what's been happening with Cop City. And let me bring up some more of this. So I'm going to play this video again because you may not have heard it or you didn't hear me at least. So we're going to start this over, but it's a short video, so it's not a big deal. All right, so let's start this again. So here is an update, Cop City in Atlanta, but the movement is Stop Cop City. It's a $90 million facility that they want to build in Atlanta, in this forest in Atlanta, for a militarized police training facility, which we call Cop City, because it's literally training them for urban warfare. So that's the background of the story. And then there's been protests, and these protesters have been getting arrested and being charged with domestic terrorism, literally just for occupying the forest. So that on top of this. So previously, and then moseying on down the line of chronologically what happened. And then there was a protester, environmentalist activist who was killed. And the police said he fired, and then they fired back. Come to find out that one of the cops was hit by friendly fire. Most likely, there was audio that came out about this. And then we fast forward to now, where last night something like 30 people were arrested and charged with domestic terrorism. I don't know if all 30 of them were charged with domestic terrorism, but at least 30 were arrested according to Breakthrough News here. And let's listen to this 50-second video again.
Atlanta police officers descended on a gathering of activists and arrested 30 people and at least one legal observer. Activists organized a music festival for families as part of their week of action to stop the building of Cop City in Atlanta, where police showed up and started to harass participants. The Atlanta Police Foundation is building a $90 million police militarization facility to train officers in urban warfare, which is known by activists as Cop City. Legal observers wear bright green hats to differentiate themselves from action attendees, and their purpose is to ensure people's constitutional right to protest is protected. The work of legal observers is crucial. Observers collect names of people arrested at protests as the first step towards ensuring that they have legal representation. This gathering is one of many actions happening this week by activists who are calling on people around the country to support them in their fight against the building of Cop City. Atlanta police officers
That was the first video. So now we can go, oops, I don't know why I keep getting these pop-ups. And that's the reason why I keep not seeing it, because I keep getting these pop-ups that all of you are not seeing, but I'm getting. All right, so, wow, no way. Let's see if this is true. It says, after Atlanta Police Chief Dan gave a briefing to Atlanta City Council today on Cop City protests, we attempted to interview the police chief to no avail after being brushed aside by officers. On the way, we passed several heavily armed police in City Hall. Let's listen. Wow, dang, he had an audit. Why do they have all these weapons just chilling?
Chief Sherboom, how do you respond to allegations that your department is selectively arresting out-of-state protesters in order to further your narrative? Do you have any comment on the National Lawyers
That's the people protecting and serving.
Guild legal observer who's currently facing domestic terrorism charges? How does APD respond to the Atlanta Solidarity Fund's comment that you're engaging in collective punishment for your inability to arrest specific criminals?
Nothing. Just despicable people. Just truly despicable. Let's continue. I mean, it's just more and more videos are coming out, so that's where the updates you see. Let's watch. Oh, that's in Spanish, so I can't read the caption. Yeah, that's in Spanish. Let's continue with some more videos here. Cop City. Let's go to Stop Cop City here. What I want, okay, this is what I was trying to find again, right here. Because they have some headlines here. What's happening in Atlanta should alarm all of us. It's so important that we stand up and resist now. Solidarity to all forest defenders and all those speaking out to stop Cop City. So I mentioned earlier, they said 30 people were arrested. So 23 were charged with domestic terrorism after Cop City clashes. So it was 23 that were charged with that. Maybe 30 were arrested, but only 23 charged with that specific charge. And let's look at the other headline. Assassinated in cold blood, activists killed protesting Georgia's Cop City. And that is the activist that I spoke about earlier in the story about Cop City. And now let's see if I can find the here we go here. So in the Stop Cop City, graffiti on Wells Fargo Bank in Asheville, North Carolina, in solidarity with the struggle to defend the Atlanta forest from being cleared to make way for a massive police training facility dubbed Cop City. And then you can see the pictures here. It looks like Stop Cop City right there. This is the Wells Fargo Bank. Save the forest, divest from terrorism. Scrolled on this Wells Fargo Bank location. Let's look at some other items here. Here goes. Statement from Governor Kemp on the police action last night. So we heard 30 people or so were arrested, 23 charged with domestic terrorism. And here is the statement by Governor Brian Kemp that we can read here. Yesterday evening, violent activists attacked the future site using the word attack, that a human attacked an inanimate object. Yesterday evening, violent activists attacked the future site of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center, putting those in the surrounding community at risk. First sentence is a complete lie. They chose destruction and vandalism over legitimate protests, yet again demonstrating the radical intent behind their actions. State and local law enforcement were quickly on the scene and able to bring the situation under control. I want to thank the Georgia Police Patrol, DNR Game Wardens, Atlanta Police, DeKalb Police, Sandy Spring Police, the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, and others who aided in bringing peace and order back to the site. Their bravery should be celebrated. As I've said before, domestic terrorism will not be tolerated in this state. As we continue to respect peaceful protests, we will also continue to ensure safety in our communities. We will not rest until those who are violent and intimidation for an extreme end are brought to full justice. Truly despicable statement, just laced with just untruths and false claims from people. The activists are violent when they're just sitting there protesting, doing nothing. They're violent where they label them violent here, and then they're attacking a facility, an inanimate object. They're using the word attack to describe that, and saying them just being there is somehow putting their surrounding community at risk, which is a fucking joke. And then saying that all these slave patrol, which you call police officers, should be celebrated for bravery, for protecting property, and the future urban warfare training facility. That comes from top elected official in Georgia. I'll end it there, and then this is like terrible. This fucking guy. Let me just read this other story. So the Andrew Yang and Marianne Williamson video, I'm gonna have to cover that again another day because I'm not gonna get to that. But I do want to get to the Yemen story. So let's go to the Yemen. Did I post that? Yeah, I posted that. Let me see if it's here. I wonder why it's not. But anyway, let's look for my posting here. Oh yeah, my article. Sorry, I almost forgot what I was looking for. So we're looking for the article, and it talks about Yemenites or Yemen nationalists filing a lawsuit against weapons manufacturers and against Anthony Blinken and Lloyd Austin. And here is the tweet along with the article. And this article comes from MiddleEastEye.net. And I'll read a snippet I posted also with it. Yeah. I put here. Yemenis. That's I didn't remember how to spell it, and it's Yemenis. Oh no, it's an E. Okay, sorry everybody. It takes so long with this. So Yemenis sue Blinken and Austin. Plus weapons manufacturer. So that's what I wanted to do. Let's read it. Yemenites sue Blinken and Lloyd Austin. Let me say that again. We'll start here, Aaron. Let's get into this story. Yemens sue Anthony Blinken and Lloyd Austin, along with Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, and I think another weapons manufacturer. And they're accusing them of aiding and abetting war crimes, which is which is spot on. But let's read a little bit, a snippet of from the article, and I have it right here. Yemen nationalists have filed a lawsuit in the U.S. against defense contractors Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and General Dynamics, accusing them of aiding and abetting war crimes and extrajudicial killings by supplying arms to the Saudi-led coalition's war in Yemen. Let's bring this up. Oops, not what I meant to do. Ooh, that's good to know. Okay, so not what I need to do. Let's do it now. Link address. Let's put that here. Here is the article again from MiddleEastEye.net. Yemenis sue top U.S. defense contractors for aiding war crimes. Let's blow it up a little bit. We'll read this and then end the stream here. Lawsuit accuses Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and General Dynamics of aiding extrajudicial killings by supplying weapons to Saudi-led coalitions in Yemen. A group of Yemen nationals have filed lawsuits in U.S. against defense contractors Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and General Dynamics, accusing them of aiding and abetting war crimes and extrajudicial killings by supplying arms to the Saudi-led coalition war in Yemen. The lawsuit filed in the District Court of Washington, D.C. also names the leaders of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, Mohammed bin Salman and Mohammed bin Zayed, respectively, as well as U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin. Middle East Eye reached out to the Pentagon, the State Department, and embassies of Saudi Arabia and and UAE, and all three defense contractors for comment on this lawsuit. The State Department, Pentagon, and Lockheed Martin told Middle East Eye that they do not comment on pending litigation. General Dynamics said they did not have a comment on the lawsuit. Quote, years after year, the bombs fell on wedding tents, funeral halls, fishing boats, and school buses, killing thousands of civilians and helping turn Yemen into the world's worst humanitarian crisis, reads the lawsuit. Quote, weapons supplied by U.S. companies through sales unlawfully approved by U.S. officials allowed Saudi Arabia and the UAE through the named defendants officials to pursue an indiscriminate and brutal bombing campaign. The plaintiffs are 7 Yemen individuals who say they represent the victims who two separate bombs in victims. They represent the victims of 2 separate bombings in the country. Sorry. One for a wedding in 2015 and another for a funeral in 2016. In October 2015, the Al-Sani Bani family was ready to celebrate a relative's wedding when a warplane bombed the area, killing 43 people, including 13 women and 16 children, according to Human Rights Watch. 1 year later, in October 2016, a crowded funeral was bombed and more than 100 people were killed. HRW reported that the bomb used was the U.S. manufactured GBU-12 Paveway 11 2 laser-guided bombs. Let's continue down further. The lawsuit names that Saudi and Emirate crown princes under the Alien Tour Statute, a law that grants federal courts jurisdiction over violations of international law. The lawsuit filed on behalf of the plaintiffs by Terrence Collinsworth of International Rights Advocates comes more than a month after the campaign arm trade, KAAT, in January said it would be taking legal action against the UK's government over its arms sales to Saudi Arabia during ongoing war in Yemen. So this is a very interesting lawsuit. I'm curious to see if it's going to, continue, and what's going to happen with things like discovery and all those things. So I'm going to keep an eye on this lawsuit and keep us updated. So if you want to go check this out, I'll put the link to the article in the description right now, and it's there now. So you can go check that out. And with that said, we're going to end right here. And there's not a outro video because I gotta go. So everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for joining Straight Out of Politics, and I will see you later.